Life is full of things to manage. Your work, your family, your plans, and your treatment. Consider Kesimpta, ofatumumab 20 milligram injection. You can take it yourself from the comfort of home. If you're ready for something different, ask your healthcare provider about Kesimpta and check out the details at kesimpta.com. Brought to you by Novartis Pharmaceuticals Corporation.
George Clooney and Brad Pitt's new movie Wolves is on Apple TV Plus September 27th.
That's where I want you to be now.
So if you want to see George Clooney and Brad Pitt, go to Apple TV Plus.
You got to start the story there.
Or if you want to see Brad Pitt and George Clooney, go to Apple TV Plus.
I am enjoying the show.
And if you want to see their new movie Wolves,
you can't do it, I'm going to help you out. I can do it. So do it.
Definitely go to Apple TV Plus.
Admit it, it's cool. Okay, fine, it was very cool.
Wolves, streaming September 27th on Apple TV Plus. Rated R.
This is Sid and Friends in the Morning.
77 WABC.
Unchain my heart. Unchain my heart. Baby, let me be. Unchain my heart. Unchain my heart. 'Cause you don't care about me. Unchain my heart. You got me sort of like a pillowcase. But you let my
Look at my girl here, Patricia Heaton from 30-something, starting a coalition to fight anti-Semitism. This is the great Ray Charles. And we've already been celebrating Bruce Springsteen's birthday on this show today. Today is also Ray Charles' birthday.
It's crazy.
Oh, my God. That is a serious daily double. Bruce Springsteen and Ray Charles, two of the all-time greatest, celebrating birthdays today.
Right. You know, man, you got to sing it from the bottom. You know, you got to give me some of that stuff. You know what I can do, and you know it's interest. Just give me the guys that I need. That's all.
Thank you, Bruce. Thank you very much, Bruce. Or Lou.
Or Ray.
All right. Bruce is 75 today, and Ray is dead. Let me get to my next guest. He is, in my opinion, I'm best friends with Joseph Tacopina, Arthur Idala, and I'm married to a beautiful, brilliant attorney in Danielle. But Alan Dershowitz is the best ever. Mr. Dershowitz, good Monday morning. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm great.
Looking forward to a good week, the beginning of the Jewish New Year soon.
Yes,
and
me
to
too.
A better next year.
I'll tell you what, though, before we get to the Jewish stuff, I'll tell you this. The team with the most wins, this is the last week of regular season baseball. The Mets and Yankees looks like both heading to the playoffs, down to their last 6 regular season games. The team with the most wins in the National League is the L.A. Dodgers. They've got 93 wins. The team with the most wins in the American League is the New York Yankees. They've got 92 wins. Dodgers, Yankees, Alan Dershowitz. Bring back any memories?
Oh boy, I can't forget the end of the 1951 season with Bobby Thompson's shot heard round the world. You know, I own the Brooklyn Dodger 1955 World Series ring.
The only one we
World
got.
Series
Yep.
the Brooklyn Dodgers ever got. I used to sneak into Ebbets Field in the 6th inning. I went to high school 4 blocks away from Ebbets Field. I saw Carl Erskine pitch the last 4 innings of his no-hitter, and at the end of his life, we talked on the phone, and I went over with him virtually every pitch, and he sent me a book that he had written about his son. He had a son who was mentally challenged, and he wrote a book comparing Jackie Robinson's struggle with his son's struggle. So I got to be friendly with Carl Erskine.
He just died a couple of months ago. Just died.
No, he was the last remaining Brooklyn Dodger from the Boys of Summer. Sandy Koufax is still doing fine, but he was a bum in 1955, 56 until they moved to Los Angeles. He couldn't throw a pitch over home plate.
Right.
And then they moved to Los Angeles, and he becomes the greatest pitcher in history, except on Yom Kippur.
He wouldn't pitch on Yom Kippur. You mentioned Rosh Hashanah, and, that is coming up, the Jewish New Year. And get ready for this, Alan. 2 weeks from today, right now, 2 weeks from today, if you call in, like you're calling in right now, I'll be doing the show from an Army base just outside of Gaza, because believe it or not, 2 weeks from today is already 1 year to the day of October the 7th.
I know. I'm going to be having dinner with Bibi Netanyahu this coming week when he comes to New York, and I will tell him to be interviewed by you, because you are the strongest voice for Israel on radio in the country.
Thank you.
He ought to be interviewed by you.
Thank you.
And you ought to be quoting him and extensively relying on his views because, he is a very, very strong leader. He understands what other people didn't understand. October 7th revealed that a weak Israel is an Israel that will be picked on and bullied. You need a strong Israel, an Israel that tells everybody who belongs to Hezbollah, we're going to blow your head off, who tells everybody who belongs to Gaza, we're going to destroy you if you start messing with Israel and start attacking Israel. You need a strong Israel. The best road to peace in the Middle East is an invulnerable, strong Israel. And the Obama administration and the Biden administration have never understood that.
No, they haven't. And, of course, he's going to be here for this, the General Assembly week. He's going to speak at the UN, I believe, on Thursday.
I'll be there.
You'll be there. They've got me involved in some rally outside his hotel, which I may or may not do. I don't know. Because, look, I still believe there are still way too many Israelis. I understand the hostage parents. They get for me, they get a pass. Everybody else, too many Israelis and too many New Yorkers who criticize Bibi. I got to tell you, Alan, when you consider what's going on with Hamas in Gaza, you mentioned Hezbollah in the north, Judea and Samaria, which the Goyim call the West Bank, they're fighting there too. This guy's doing an unbelievable job. He can't get all the hostages back because Hamas won't allow it. He's doing an amazing job.
And we have what I call BB derangement syndrome. It's just like Trump derangement syndrome. People in Israel some of them hate Bibi to a point that they would sacrifice Israel's victory to get rid of Bibi. Yet you can't change horses in midstream, as Lincoln said. And Bibi has to remain in office until Israel destroys Hezbollah, destroys Hamas, and can live in peace and allow its people to come home to their homes and not have to live in hotels. No country can survive that way. And so a strong Israel led by a strong leader is absolutely essential. Once the war is over, once we see a reckoning for what happened on October 7th, Israel will vote. It'll decide who it wants.
Right.
Chuck Schumer doesn't tell Israelis who should be the prime minister.
Him of all people.
Nor should he tell the Supreme Court how to decide cases and threaten them.
That's right. So you mentioned Rosh Hashanah coming up soon. That's next week. It's the Jewish New Year. I'm actually going to be going to shul in Israel during Yom Kippur, which
wonderful.
is
Wonderful.
Kol Nidre for my father. But are you worried at all, Alan, about security? It's right around October 7th, the Jewish New Year. We see a ton of anti-Semites walk the streets of Manhattan with no problem, almost every single day. Are you worried?
I am worried, but I'm not letting it affect me. I wear a shirt in the streets of New York saying Proud American Zionist. I wear a hat that was given to me by the military leader of Gaza when I went down into the tunnels, which says, Gaza Command Center. I'm going to be a proud Jew and a proud supporter of Israel no matter what the risks are. We can't let them bully us. We have to rely on the police. Did you see the interesting study that showed now more liberals want guns than ever before? Black liberals want guns to protect themselves against crime. Jewish liberals want guns to protect themselves. Look, I have a new client. I don't know if you heard about him. This brave guy, a former Marine in Newton, Massachusetts, was holding an American flag and an Israeli flag. And this thug who supported the killing of Israeli hostages comes up to him and knocks him down, starts beating him up and banging his head against the floor. Unbeknownst to this thug, my client, who's a former Marine, is licensed to carry a gun, pulls out his gun and he shoots him in the stomach. He's not going to die. He's okay. But my client has been indicted for assault with a deadly weapon, and I agreed to represent him pro bono and to help defend himself on self-defense grounds. He's a true American hero. He fought for us in Iraq, and now he's fighting for the Jewish people, and he can count on me to be his lawyer and to be in his corner.
I love that. That is a great job out of you and a great case. See, one case that's not nearly as important or not nearly as honorable is P. Diddy. Now, I don't know if you're keeping up with this, but you are. Okay, so my dear friend Joseph Tacopina, the great attorney, he was on Friday, and, he's a defense attorney, so he tends to be more caring towards the person in trouble, And I'm like, this guy's finished. He's having these freak-offs on these. He said, sit. First of all, these quote-unquote freak-offs, as far as we know, this is all consensual. These girls weren't forced to do this. Nobody put a gun in their mouth to do this. He said, look, the violent video with Cassie, that's a whole other story, he said. But the truth is, when you look into this case, the idea that P. Diddy is going to jail forever may not be the case. What does Alan Dershowitz think?
He should not be in jail now. He is not a flight risk. If he wanted to escape, he could have escaped for the months before he was indicted. He knew he was getting indicted. And it would have been much easier for him to flee the country and go to a place without extradition. After you're indicted, you can't flee the country. So he's not a flight risk. And he's not going to be a risk to other women. They all know what his reputation is at this point. And any woman who gets involved with him at this point, it's going to be consensual. So he ought to be free pending trial. Then after conviction, if he's convicted, then he should get what he deserves. But the presumption of innocence has to prevail. We can't allow people to be sent to jail based on what the newspapers say. And that's what's happening in this case. It's what's happening in so many other cases. We have to remember the Eighth Amendment to the Constitution provides for bail, and we should have bail. He should be wearing an anklet. He should be monitored, maybe even home arrest. But he shouldn't be sitting in the Brooklyn Detention Center or wherever he is when he's still presumed innocent.
It is ugly, though, when you consider Alan Dershowitz last week here in New York. Even if he's not guilty, it's still ugly. P. Diddy, what he does, and the same day Harvey Weinstein here in New York. And I know that Artie did a great job with Harvey Weinstein, but he's not innocent. So it's just ugly, no? Alan, ugly.
Look, it's ugly, but the Constitution was designed to protect against ugliness being used as a criteria for confinement. We have to follow the rules, no matter where the rules take us, no matter how unpopular the defendant is. You have to follow the rules. And that's what Arthur Aidala did so brilliantly in the New York Court of Appeals. He didn't deny that Harvey Weinstein, he didn't claim Harvey Weinstein deserves the Nobel Prize. What he said was that, all of these other issues that were introduced against him prejudiced the jury and let the jury convict him for what they believed he was as a person, not they believed he did as a defendant. So Artie did a great job, and it's so important that you have criminal defense lawyers like the ones you mentioned and like me and others who always challenge the government. Sometimes we lose.
Right.
If the case is overwhelming, we lose. But at least we lose after due process has been given to our defendant. That's the key to our system of rule of law.
You don't lose all that much, my friend. I mean, if you won with O.J. Simpson, you can win with anybody.
I have a very good record. But,
you're pretty good. You're like the Sandy Koufax of lawyers. So,
and I don't work on Yom Kippur.
That's right. There you go. Let's get to Trump. There is, I've mentioned this before to you, but it's always worth bringing up because now we're just 43 days away from the election. There are Trump supporters that feel if he loses the election, that he may go to jail. One of these things is going to come into play. If he wins, of course, everything goes away. What are your thoughts?
I don't think he's going to jail. I met with him this past week. I was at a conference in Washington, D.C.
Oh, you went on Thursday?
Yeah, and so I was there, and we met for 10 or 15 minutes, and we talked, and he tried to persuade my wife to persuade me to endorse him. As you know, I have said I'm no longer a member of the Democratic Party. I'm an independent, but I don't believe in early voting. So
I hope you told him, by the way, Donald, just so you know, your friend Sid Rosenberg has been doing that for the better part of a year and a half.
I know, believe me, he knows that. Yeah, I know. He knows that. But look, my vote is my vote, and I'll make it based on all the evidence. I wrote a piece for the Wall Street Journal saying how hard it would be for me to vote for the Democrat at this point. And it's getting worse because so many of the Democratic candidates have now come out and praised the protesters. It's one thing to defend their right of free speech. I defended the rights of Nazis to speak in Skokie, but I would never defend the substance of what they're saying. But Kamala Harris has defended them. Joe Biden has defended them. Waltz has defended them, saying, they have good ideas, listen to them, they're well motivated. No, they are Hitler Youth. They are the worst of America. They are the worst in the world. These people who are calling for death to America, who are calling for victory for Hamas, who are praising the murder of hostages, these are people who do not deserve the support or the belief by any Democrats. They have to be condemned. You can defend their free speech rights, but you must condemn them. Condemn them. What they're doing is wrong and bad for America and bad for Jews and bad for Israel and bad for the Democratic Party. And these people don't seem to understand the difference between defending someone's right to do something and saying that it's right what they're doing. It's wrong what they're doing, even though they have the right to do it.
And on the flip side, Dersh, you mentioned you were with Trump on Thursday, and I was invited to that, as well as the event afterwards, which was basically a replay of what we did in Bedminster, New Jersey a couple of weeks ago with the late, great Sheldon Adelson's wife, the Jewish...
I was there with Miriam, too. She's
one
of the great women. She is one of the great women in the world. She was the person who was sponsoring this event, and I had lunch with her, and we spent some time together. She's a great person. Great person, and I'm part of that group, the Jewish Voices for Trump, which Adelson and Trump travel the country doing. So on the flip side, I know you're not a one-issue voter. There's other stuff you care about. But not only are the Democrats Jew haters, but here's Trump last Thursday, not one, Alan Dershowitz, but two different Jewish events in Washington, D.C., just hours after his rally at the Nassau Coliseum. I have to tell you, though, I did not like two things he said. I did not like him saying that if he loses, Israel will be destroyed. Israel's future cannot depend on the election of any one person, whether it be Donald Trump or whether it be Netanyahu. The other thing he said is that if he loses the election, it may be the fault of the Jews. I don't like when he says things like that. I understand where he's coming from.
Is he not accurate?
He's not accurate. Israel will survive no matter who's elected. And if he loses the election, it will be because of things he's done and said, not because of things that Jews vote for. Look,
but how could Jews, to his point, I mean, look, yes, he tends to exaggerate, but the truth is, I do agree with him that Israel, their whole existence will be in jeopardy. Will we survive? Yes, we've done it before, but I agree their whole existence will be in jeopardy. And Alan, how can any decent Jewish person vote for the Democrats? He may, it's hyperbole, he exaggerates, but he's not wrong on either account.
Look, he was the best president Israel and the Jews had since Harry Truman. I agree with all that, but different people have different priorities. Black voters have different priorities. Jewish voters, we don't agree with each other. Some people put greater stake on a woman's right to have abortion or gay rights. Some people put more stake on the climate or gun control. I have changed my priorities. I am focusing now primarily on the survival of Israel and the safety of the Jewish community in America, which is why I left the Democratic Party. And so, you make a strong point. You make a good point. Now persuade my wife.
Yeah. I had a hard enough time persuading my wife the last couple of years. But I love your wife and I love your son. I mean, your family is such beautiful people, all of you.
I have a great family.
You do.
I'm so lucky.
Yeah. But I think, is there any way, on a serious note, because your wife represents a lot of people, very bright lady, brilliant, in fact, but is there any way to really persuade her?
Yes. And that is if Donald Trump begins to focus more on the policies and less on the personalities and stops attacking people, I think there is a way of persuading her. But, right now, both candidates have to earn our votes. Jewish votes and votes of people like you and me who used to be Democrats or used to be liberals, whatever, they're up for grabs. And both candidates have to do between now and November. They have to earn our votes. They can't take them for granted the way they used to. They used to say, if you're a Jew, of course you're going to vote Democrat. When I grew up in Brooklyn, in Borough Park, there was the Democrats, the liberals, the Republicans were on the bottom. The communists came before the Republicans. There were no Republicans. Today, 30% of Jews vote for Republicans. But they have to earn our vote, and they have to do it with being a mensch, and that's the big problem. I think a lot of Jews are opposed to the policies of Harris, but they're opposed to the personality of Trump. And the question is, do you vote policies or personalities? And I think a lot of people will honestly say policies are more important, and they'll, some of them will vote for Trump, even though they've never voted for a Republican before. I have never, since John Kennedy, voted for a Republican for president, but it's not beyond the realm of possibility.
Love it. So I'll talk to you next week. I want to get you on one more time before the High Holy Days, and then make me a promise. Obviously, when you talk to Bibi, he's on with Dana Bash. He's on with Margaret Brennan. These people hate him. They're even disrespectful to him on television. I love him, but more importantly, he's got to be on. Thank you. And but when I'm in Israel, will you please come on with me then?
Of course. Happy to do that. I wish I were in Israel with you.
Me too. Me too.
I was in Israel once for Yom Kippur, and I actually heard Menachem Begin, the former prime minister of Israel, read from the book of Jonah, which he used to do all the time. And he loved to go to the synagogue. He was a very traditional Jew, and I love to go to the synagogue in Israel too. And here I go to Park Avenue, Park East Synagogue, Rabbi Schneier, and I listen to the great Cantor Helfgott, and I'm looking forward to Rosh Hashanah.
He's a great rabbi, Rabbi Schneier. Alan Dershowitz.
Event tonight. I'm going to an event tonight for human rights. Yeah.
Oh, good. Well, enjoy tonight, and I'll talk to you before Rosh Hashanah next week. I love you. That is a great appearance. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
You're the best. Alan Dershowitz right there, folks.